Coming up on Arirang News, South Korea confirms more than 24 cases of the coronavirus variants, most of them imported. The government's demanding absolute compliance with quarantine rules among people arriving from overseas. Data show the extent of the pandemic's impact on South Korea's service industries. Production in the sector down everywhere but in Seoul, and that was because of a booming stock and real estate market. And the American carmaker Tesla takes a $1.5 billion position in Bitcoin, sending the price of the currency soaring. Tesla says it'll also be accepting Bitcoin for the purchase of its cars. It's 5 p.m. here in Seoul. Thanks for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. South Korea has reported more than 24 more cases of the COVID-19 variants, including 4 transmitted domestically. The overall daily number of cases is back just above 300. And with people expected to travel in the coming week for the Lunar New Year, the health authorities are concerned about a rise in infections. Ji-young has more.
South Korea has reported 26 new cases of variant strains of COVID-19. According to health authorities on Tuesday, 24 people tested positive for the UK variant. 1 was confirmed to have been infected with the South African variant, and another one had the Brazil variant. This raises the total to 80 cases of variants. Of the cases reported on Tuesday, 4 were domestically transmitted. These 4 cases of the UK variant were found to be related to a Syrian visitor who arrived from the United Arab Emirates in late December.
4 of the confirmed variant cases were domestic transmissions, and all of them are foreigners. They were confirmed positive in the tests for those who were in contact with the relatives of the cluster infections that broke out in Gyeongsam-namdo province and Jeollanam-do province.
He added that in order to prevent the spread of the variant cases in the country, absolute cooperation is needed from those arriving from abroad. He also said the authorities will show zero tolerance when dealing with those who violate self-quarantine rules. This comes as COVID-19 variants are spreading fast and seemingly becoming dominant overseas. Meanwhile, South Korea reported 303 new cases of COVID-19 on Tuesday, up 14 from the previous day. Although the third wave of coronavirus appears to be settling down, health authorities are concerned that infections could spread fast during the Lunar New Year holidays as mass travel is expected. The government will conduct special measures to restrict travel during the holidays and prohibit private meetings of more than 5 people. Ji-young, Arirang News.
Data from Russia suggests that the virus that causes COVID-19 survives longer in places that are moist and places that are cold. The health authorities there say in cold environments, it can survive for more than 2 weeks. And as vaccine rollout continues, Israel has confirmed that the Pfizer vaccine significantly reduces person-to-person transmission. Choi Min-jung reports.
Studies from Russia have unveiled new findings for the survival rates of the COVID-19 virus. Data released on Monday by the Health Ministry show that the virus could live up to 3 days on dry surfaces and 7 days in damp conditions. The findings also revealed the hotter the temperature, the shorter the virus lives. It was found that the virus can last for more than 2 weeks at 4 degrees Celsius, a day at 37 degrees Celsius, 45 minutes at 56 degrees Celsius, and 5 minutes at 70 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, Israel on the same day revealed that Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine significantly reduces the chance of transmitting the virus. Citing data from the MyHeritage lab, the Times of Israel reported that patients aged over 60 had 60% less virus loads than the age group between 40 to 59. This comes as the majority of the 60-plus age group in Israel have already been vaccinated with first doses at least. Although the results are based on incomplete data, experts say it is enough to show that Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine reduces transmission once people are vaccinated. Regarding the controversy surrounding AstraZeneca's efficacy rate against the South African variant, the chief executive of the COVAX co-leader Gavi Alliance suggested it was too early to dismiss the vaccine. According to Reuters, the chief said there were no plans to reject the vaccine for now, as studies are still ongoing. Initially, South Africa paused its rollout of the vaccine after studies conducted there revealed that the vaccine does not work well against the country's variant. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Last month, North Korea announced a new 5-year plan for its economy. Leader Kim Jong-un having admitted more than once that the previous one fell far short of its goals. Now he's criticizing those in charge of the regime's economy and demanding that they boost industrial production so that the new plan can be achieved. Kim Da-mi has the details.
Slamming the regime's economic agencies, Kim Jong-un is determined to make his new 5-year economic development plan a successful one. Delivering a report on the first year's tasks, Kim on Monday wrapped the agencies for what he called their, quote, passive and self-protecting tendencies. He also demanded that the increase of production of iron, steel, and chemical fertilizer, calling them the main link in the chain of national economy. The session was already the second plenary meeting since the 8th Party Congress in January. Analysts say such detailed continual meetings reflect Kim's perception that the success of the new economic plan depends on achievements made in 2021. In addition, Kim may be seeking to restore confidence within the regime through new projects, especially in the face of the pandemic and the international sanctions imposed on the regime. With his frank admission that the North's economy had immensely underachieved, Kim last month unveiled a new 5-year economic development plan with a focus on self-reliance. While there is still a possibility of Pyongyang sending messages to Seoul and Washington during the upcoming meetings, experts note the North will most likely spend the first part of 2021 on its internal projects and businesses. The plenary meeting is still ongoing with no end date announced yet. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News.
New data paint a clearer picture of the pandemic's impact on South Korea's service industries. Overall output in the sector was down in every region but Seoul. The increase in the capital, though, was not among shops and restaurants, but in the real estate and financial industries. Kim Jae-hee has this report.
South Korea's service output and retail sales suffered in the fourth quarter of last year amid tightened social distancing measures. According to Statistics Korea on Tuesday, there was a decline in service output in the fourth quarter in all but one out of the country's 16 provinces and major cities. Only Seoul saw a 0.9% rise in service output thanks to high real estate transactions, with much of the industry concentrated in the capital region and a boom in the stock market. Strong performances in the insurance and finance industries also helped offset other setbacks caused by the pandemic. But retail sales were also down in almost all regions. 13 provinces and cities saw a decline in retail sales in the fourth quarter, with only Gyeonggi-do and Gyeongsang-nam-do provinces seeing a slight rise.
Duty-free shops, department stores, and retail stores saw massive losses in sales due to a decrease in foreign tourists and fewer external activities in general. As a result, Jeju Island, Seoul, Incheon, and areas that have a high proportion of these industries reported huge drops in retail sales.
Amid the downturn, many businesses in the pandemic service industry are calling for the social distancing measures to be eased to make up for the massive losses over the past year. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
The South Korean government is looking to revise the regulations on real estate brokerage fees to better take into account home prices and the circumstances of the customer. The Civil Rights Commission has proposed several ways of calculating fees. One would lower them for less expensive rental homes. Another would let the realtor and the customer negotiate the fees themselves. Yet another would set a flat percentage of the transaction size. The Land Ministry has vowed to come up with improvements by July at the latest. The price of Bitcoin surged to more than $47,000 on Tuesday after the electric car maker Tesla announced it was buying $1.5 billion worth of the world's best-known cryptocurrency. Tesla also said in a regulatory filing that it's going to start accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment for its cars. Tesla's buy and its announcement are seen as the biggest endorsement of the currency by a mainstream company. The firm said in its filing that this was a way to diversify and get better returns on its cash. Time now for an in-depth look at the market news, and for that I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, Global Strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, thank you for making time today.
Good afternoon.
Well, stocks in New York have risen to yet another all-time high, all three main indices. Today, the Kospi started out much higher, but that tapered off later in the session and we were down. What's the story in the global markets and here in Korea?
Yes, if you look at the U.S. market, it continues to show rising trend, particularly for the small and mid-cap stocks. The Russell 2000 has risen almost close to 2%. This is clearly due to the expectation of swift economic recovery fueled by the rollout of vaccines and additional government spending. Also, the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen commented that if Congress act fast, U.S. could return to the full employment by sometime in 2022. So because of that, the energy stocks, the industrials, the financials, all which are tied to the reviving of economic recovery, led the gains in Dow Jones and S&P 500. In terms of the NASDAQ, however, though, it kind of slightly underperformed its peers because people are expecting the economic recovery would benefit some of the underperformer in the past. In terms of Korean market, though, when it started, it was quite strong, but has declined and closed down by around 0.2% to 0.3% for Kospi and Kosdaq. I think it's because of the option closing of tomorrow before the Lunar New Year holiday, and the foreign investors net sold about 230 billion won worth of Korean equities, and that is pushing the market to be lower. However, after the holidays, we think the ample liquidity and the current expectation of the IT sector recovery, Korean market should do quite well in the future.
Well, aside from stocks, the price of crude oil is back up to almost $60 a barrel for the first time in a little over a year, where it was before the pandemic. Why is that, and where do you see oil going from here?
Right. As you know, that U.S. dollar being a little bit strong has affected the oil price to remain subdued. But as the U.S. dollar remains now at quite stable, ample liquidity is fueling into some of these commodity, particularly the oil side. Oil has reached above $60 per barrel. And this has resulted in because of the economic recovery that you are expecting for U.S. as well as global economy. And on top of that, there was news about the Saudi Arabia who are trying to do a voluntary production cuts of 1 million barrels per day in February and March. Clearly, supply and demand both sides is pushing up the oil price. However, though, if you look at the overall fourth industrial revolution, we think that the renewable energy is much more focused and electric car is more important in the future. So therefore, the overall demand for the oil might not be as strong as people expect. So therefore, in terms of the picking out of the price, we don't think that it's going to go up to the previous highs of about $75 to $80, but rather I think we're probably entering on top of the range in terms of the range-bound oil price.
And a lot of other global commodities have been up recently too, including grains, and that will no doubt have an effect on prices here. Some say we're in the start of a new commodities supercycle. So tell us more about that and how this might raise concerns about inflation.
Yes, some of the investors are saying that there might be a super cycle for commodities coming, and quite a lot of monies are flowing into commodities, and some of the investment banks are target pricing these commodities to be much higher than the previous. However, though, we think that this kind of rise is not going to be sustained that long. We need to look at where the demand is. We think that economic recovery is coming, but not to these investment-heavy or construction or shipbuildings or these kind of the commodity-related sector, but rather the continuation of fourth industrial revolutions would affect more positively in terms of the data centers and DRAM prices and all these IT-related sectors. So super cycle is coming in that area rather than these commodity-related sectors. So therefore, we don't think that the commodity price is going to hit those record levels that we've seen in 2007, 2008, or even 2011. but rather we probably see where the commodity prices were in the dot-com bubble era when it was remained to be quite low. Right now, the prices have risen, but it's not to the level of a previous bottom of the bubble burst of the super cycle of the commodities. We think that the demand is definitely improving because of the economic pictures, but nevertheless, we think that the economic paradigm shift is actually happening, and therefore we don't bet on this commodity price to be continued in the future.
Got it. All right, Mr. Yu, we'll have to leave it there for today. Thanks so much, as always, for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very much.
That brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.